Rascal can get on something aggressive early on, right? Like a Camille or a Necton to really bully that laning phase, especially Rich, whose laning phase has been, even with always positive sides, right, has been super subpar. I think that Gen.G have a little bit more space here in how they approach the game in the draft. Yes, fresh ban, there we go. That makes Aphelios way worse.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the one thing we really want to see, because as you're pointing out, it definitely feels a little bit more of that for Nongshim, right? It's kind of like a one-man carry team, and if he doesn't pop off, it's not a good sign. Target that guy. Just ban him out, Like, it's very obvious when you play against this team, so I like what they're throwing out here first, for sure.
And it's interesting that they then banned the Samira, but I kind of agree with their assessment, really happy with this Rel ban as well, that Aphelios in of itself is not nearly as threatening. It's the combination of Aphelios Fresh that really provides a problem, because Fresh mitigates all of Aphelios' weaknesses so well and augments his strengths, right? Like, if you give Aphelios a little bit of time, which Fresh can very easily do, it makes it so much stronger. It provides additional safety, it provides peel. And I would be interested to see if Nongshim still decide to pick it up here, as the Olaf, not a surprise here. If they follow the line, BDD is going to place the Azir here, because, that's what happens. But I would love an Orianna here. I think that Orianna-Olaf combo is very strong, and I don't think Orianna is a bad blind pick whatsoever.
Yeah, because on 11.2, it's just ridiculous how strong Olaf is. This is interesting. Yeah, I mean, Udyr doesn't have much success in the LCK if you're not Pioshik. Again, we saw that today. We might see it here in this game. And I think that trend is just going to continue, especially when you're throwing it over to Gen.G and they have the chance to throw the Orianna over to BDD that you were mentioning. Because, again, Orianna, Udyr is also strong. They are going to go ahead and switch it over to Azir. They want to see what Gen.G are going to pick, and they will highly prioritize that Azir pick.
So I like and dislike this. It's good that you pick it away from BDD, because BDD is, look, by far the most comfortable on this champion. And I really like that you give Peanut the opportunity to, like, hide his pick for a little bit longer, right? Like, we all remember that Nidalee game he played. He's already shown he can really, really bring the hurts if he gets fed. But interesting, Gen.G's not going to go for the... Gen.G. Very different direction here. I was expecting something like an Orianna and a Xayah lock-in to follow.
Yeah.
But they're going to go completely the opposite way. And I don't love the Aphelios pick here, provided that you're already playing into an Azir and a Kai'Sa, and you won't have the Fresh available because you banned it.
I would have loved to see the Xayah, actually. It doesn't necessarily fit too well alongside Syndra and Olaf as a composition. Seraphine was left available, and I think we kind of... Unless you mentioned it, I think we kind of missed that one. But
we did.
It was left available, and now they're just like, okay, thank you very much. It means that we don't have our jungle picked just yet, and we can have like something like a Nidalee ban come out here, of course. But the fact that Nongshim gets Seraphine is pretty huge.
I think Seraphine is incredibly strong, and I think the Nongshim composition thus far augments it fairly well. This will be a support Seraphine, though, with the Azir pickup already, and I feel like she's still really good, but she's not as strong as a mid lane Seraphine would be in this scenario. Doesn't have the best synergy with Kai'Sa. Like, it's not bad, right? Like, Seraphine's laning is still really, really solid with the survivability on her W, the utility of beat drop if you do get a jungler to come by. As now we see Peanut getting target banned. I like that from Gen.G because Peanut is very essential to Nongshim's early game. But I don't know, the Gen.G comp, it's kind of... I don't really know how I feel about it yet. I really want to see where they go in 4-5 here, because they need something that can keep Aphelios away from that Seraphine, from the Azir, to kind of keep him safe. And more is getting banned out. You can't really play like a hard engaged dive composition, so the Olaf also becomes kind of awkward, because it's really... it's cool that Olaf can ignore the charm, but no one else can.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of an awkward state right now in the pick ban, so they're going to need to prove to us that they've got something interesting coming in the pipeline here for the last couple of picks. Nongshim, I feel like they have a lot of ways to go with this. Do they want
to be Aatrox? Oh,
I was thinking, yeah, some kind of Beef Boy or Frontline or something like that, but we're thinking about a jungler right off the bat, and it will be the Kindred here for Peanut.
I really like Kindred. I think she's kind of a what do you call it? She's always been like kind of a soft counter, like Pig that has been good into Olaf, because in terms of dueling, she can actually duel him if she can dodge the X's right and get a lead. She's super oppressive, but also she counteracts what basically the entire Gen.G composition wants to do, Aphelios to a lesser extent, which is dive or play backwards and then try and kill those key targets, right? But it becomes so much harder, and Kindred's combined with Azir is always really nice because it feels really good if you can use Lamps Respite and your opponents can. Not. Okay. Yes, please. Yes.
Blind Camille for Rascal. Here we go.
Okay, so I love the blind Camille because I love putting Rascal on aggressive carry, but okay, this is yeah.
He's
just honestly, Gragas is really good here because it's great for Rich. He loves it. It's super neutralizing in lane, and it's yet another knock-up. So, honestly, I like the Nongshim team composition here more. I think that as Gen.G, you're going to have to play a full one style, because I think there's no way, unless Rascal finds a flank, that you can actually engage onto this composition from Nongshim, right? And Nongshim have a composition that can do way more different things.
Yeah, it certainly does feel like they're a little bit more open to, certain options in this game as we do come along. I like their late game. I think that Kai'Sa, Kindred, Azir is going to be pretty nuts, especially because we've already seen what Seraphine can do. That ultimate is just ridiculous, right? And even though she does turn into a little bit of an ult bot, it's a really game-changing ult, right? Like, we've passed Sona, we've passed, I don't know, some other big game-changing ultimates, like Call the Forge God. We're like upgraded, we're evolved. We're the next level with Seraphine. So, yeah, you mentioned the Olaf, right? If they're trying to engage full on, like, especially in the late game, Nautilus might just get ripped to shreds. And then if you don't have a front line, good luck team fighting. I don't know.
I think the Nongshim draft has it's way better. It does so much more because I think if you don't get Rascal fed and Rascal becomes like a really big threat in the side, like, or you don't get anyone else, like if Ruler gets like 3 kills early, then the game changes, right? Like it becomes a completely different kind of thing. Or if Dogdom and Kalling get bot gapped. But in a fairly even game state, you can hard engage with the Nongshim comp. You can go in aggressively with a big Azir play, right? And Encore and a Killer Instinct to follow up. But when you're kiting back, it's also incredibly strong. Camille and Olaf want to play very far forward, and trying to do that into an explosive cask, a Seraphine ultimate, and a Shurima Shuffle, not to mention a Lamps Respite, where Nongshim have 2 ways to get you out of it. It feels like this has got to be like purely execution here from Gen.G, because I feel like this draft is doing them no favors like they can still win, but it's a situation where it's going to be really hard for them to actually play out the game if they mis-execute or if they don't get someone monstrously fed.
Yeah, absolutely. And you never really want to rely on that, right? If you're a better team, you can get away with it. But it's pretty clear to see that Nongshim, I think, got the better end of this draft, and they're going to be feeling pretty good about it. Now, as we mentioned, maybe Rascal just like gets 2 solo kills on the top lane and they can't handle the split push, and then, Gen.G are able to make like early to mid macro plays that just get them too far ahead, and it doesn't matter, right? But we'll see. You don't want to have to rely on that again. So I'm very curious about it. This bottom lane, you were talking about like what is going to go along with this Aphelios, because you need the Thresh is great, but they already banned the Thresh. It was their first ban, Gen.G's literal first ban. So this is a lane that we used to see all the time, the Aphelios Nautilus. But nowadays the Nautilus, I'm not a huge fan. It doesn't seem like it's nearly as good or gets as much value as it used to. And
I agree.
We'll see. I mean, Life is a fantastic kind of engaged tank support player, but this is going to be a rough lane. Kai'Sa, Seraphine.
It's going to be fun. This is that is all lane control just gone. Ruler also went for a long sword here. So that is also something that is going to really alleviate your early pressure. And Klid also started bot side, meaning that he's going to path up the top, which with the idea of, trying to get Rascal ahead is completely fine. Rascal also aggressively shoving that first wave in, and I think trying to get the bounce so that there is actually set up for Klitz to go for a gank later on. And again, Rich's laning is where he's weakest, so I love that they go for that. But if Rule is behind, this game gets a lot harder than it already is. And Dogdom and Kaling, I've said this before, I think they're one of the strongest bot lanes that we have. We've lost so much good bot laners to the LPL, right? People, oh, they found the hook though. Never mind.
God, Chronicler, it's your second pass. How are you so good at cursing these players already?
Thank you. Yeah.
Very talented. Great job so far. Yeah, I don't know what that was. Duckdom getting a little bit excited, which you can in this kind of lane, but he may just have to pay for it, right? No flash now means that they're not going to be able to put on as much pressure, and that's exactly what this lane had in the bottom lane. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it's really not good, because it also means any potential follow-up from Clit becomes way more threatening, right? As we see that Peanut wins the 50-50, and they will be able to pick up a mark for free. Maybe in an optimal situation, you know, there's a potential for a rotation to that, but with Prio on both lanes, Nongshim is going to pick that up, guaranteed. And Rich isn't low, so I don't think Clit can really do anything. He has also decided that though, so that's nice, and he will go back here.
BDD low on mana, so he can't really follow this up, but he does push Bay out of lane. Unfortunately for BDD, although it does mean good stuff for his lane, it doesn't really affect the fact that this Scuttle Crab is going to go the way of Peanut. And so, a nice start for him. We've seen Kindred games where he just gets denied for quite a while, and it's not a fun time, but this is like Kindred's dream, right? You start off like this, you get those lucky marks, maybe you get a nice little gank, and you're going to be sailing into that mid to late game. So, see how it goes for him.
Jungler party at the bot side.
Yeah, I like this from Peanut. You know, he's kind of just hanging around. He's like expecting this kind of gank, this pressure to come in, because no flash. And this counter gank could be huge, but the Seraphine in the front line might get burst down. You see Peanut, they're going to turn immediately onto him and take him down for first blood. That is massive for Gen.G. And now Duckdom with no flash available. He's just going to get run down as well. And that's what Gen.G really needed, and we're looking for this early lead, and they will find it in the bot lane.
The only way that gets better if his life doesn't get the kill, but Ruler does. But yeah, all in all, I think that's a questionable decision. And I don't think they expected Clit to run straight to that bot lane from base. But considering that Duckdom had lost his flash, that should not be the biggest of surprise. Because just early Olaf dueling in a situation like this, the value he gets with his axes is disgusting. And also look at the weapons here that are available for Ruler, right? Like at the right moment, he gets both Graviton and Inferno, meaning that he actually does a lot of AoE damage here. The cleanse means that Peanut can't turn on him. And yeah, no flash, Duckdom. And if you have no flash and Olaf and Nautilus are wailing on you, it doesn't end very well for you.
Yeah, like, you consider maybe he's waiting for the counter gank, but like Kindred at this level compared to Olaf is just like, I mean, you're not gonna have a fun time. Yes, maybe if you kite someone down and it's a little bit more of a isolated situation, you can have some luck. I don't know what's going on. Bay just not understanding that BDD is about to hit level 6. That is a pretty massive mistake. Giving a free kill to BDD, also you're gonna miss the cannon minion. Really not a fan of that, and that is pretty unfortunate for Bay to start off.
So Valdez, remember what I said earlier, where we were like, you know, this is a rough draft to go up against for Nongshim. This is also the reason why draft, while meaning a lot, it's not the be-all end-all. Because just in terms of straight up skirmishes and 1v1, we see the clear edge that Gen.G have here. Because they've gotten a big 1k, almost 1.5k gold lead off of just like 2 plays. That's not great.
It's just their setup of the plays, also the mistake in the mid lane from Bay. I mean, BDD was like making it very clear. He's like, okay, you need to back away. You can't stand here. This is my lane now. Respect me. And Bay's like, nope, I'm gonna hit level 6 and I'm gonna poke you down. Well, didn't work out very well for him. And,
he did not.
We haven't seen too much of this top lane. We've seen a bit of trading where Rascal gets aggressive. I feel like Rich is doing pretty well, given the situation, where he's not falling too far behind and should be comparable in CS, but I do like the cull purchase from Rascal as well.
Something that, and I was interrupted by BDD's magnificent solo kill there, but that I think that the bot lane skirmish also possibly looks differently if Peanut has pressed the attack there, because the power spike of a Kindred on level 3 particular, but level 4 ain't bad either, with press the attack, is way bigger right? And Conqueror is really good in like extended trades or like extended fights with an Olaf, but in that scenario, if you just hunt it to 0-1-1 with the extra damage you get from press the attack, you might feel a little bit better about that. We see Rich getting bullied off and immediately nice cross-map player from Nongshim.
Yeah, and the other issue is that, like, yeah, he has the strong trading with the press of the attack if he had it, but, like, you can't play it the way he did either, right? Like,
no, I mean...
diving in and being like, okay, I'm going to kill the Olaf now. Like, well, I feel like you need to use your range and kind of poke him down instead. Maybe getting a little bit excited as nice plate take here for Rascal, looking to extend that top lead, and things are going well for Gen.G, all things considered, right? We talked about the draft, but they are winning this early game very handily so far.
And I'd like to remind everyone that Gen.G's stats when they do have a lead are very, very good. And we've seen Flawless, right? I think Flawless has actually been a pretty solid replacement or addition to the team. And yeah, I mean, you said it, he hit 6, and that is immediately the end of it. Like, he has the orbs. That must have been a miscalculation in terms of XP, right? He must have thought he had like 1 or 2 more minions, because there is no way that should ever happen. Very unfortunate there, because as you say, this is gonna give BDD so much more pressure in his lane. Also went for the lucidity boots, meaning that he's a little bit more susceptible to any damage that will come up. Like, I'm thinking like Merc Threats will do nothing here because, right, like you get shuffled or you don't. There's not really anything else going on. If they use poke, not very fun.
Yeah. We have the Rift Herald here. Cass comes in, kind of just clears the wave, but I feel like this is almost inevitable. We also have the mid prio, so BDD gets first roam to the top side. Rich, you're losing your turret. There's nothing you can do. Yeah. Sorry, buddy. Peanut's not here. We're not rotating up. It's just, you're losing your turret. So there you go. Gen.G gonna get more leads here. I mean, it's already over 3,000 gold at before 10 minutes. This is a gigantic early game lead for Gen.G.
And this is what at best, right? Like Gen.G, yes, they've looked rather subpar. And as I've already tried to get out, that is that I think that this iteration of Gen.G, even though I don't mind the swaps to Flawless, obviously Karat's a little bit less successful, they look so much more cohesive, right? Like, they look like they really know how to play the early game, how to continuously put under pressure, what to play for, when they can all in and when they can't. And it's something that was really missing from them. So I'm happy to see this form back. Now, of course, the battle has not yet been fought, but a freaking gold lead at 10 minutes is a really, really good way to start.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like the team as a whole just performs a lot better, like a lot more comfortably, I feel like, against teams that they know they should beat, almost. You know,
yeah, I agree.
It feels pretty obvious to say, like, oh, Gen.G are going to beat teams that they're better than, but I feel like it's more of like a comfort thing, right? We see them really be able to perform at the tippy top level against some of these easier teams for Gen.G, right? They're a great team, but you know, where does all this dominance go when you face off against some of the stronger teams? It feels like they lose a lot of that. So, you know, it's good to see Gen.G have it back. I know that Gen.G fans can be frustrated about their performance against some of the tippy top teams, of course, but you know, you got to start somewhere again. You got to get the ball rolling again, even after some disappointments. So good to see this good start here in game number 1 for them at least.
Oh, teleport available for BDD. 5-man party down bot lane.
Yeah, everybody's going to come down here. I mean, Rascal doesn't have TP, though, so looks like maybe that's what they're trying to get going here.
Huh. I mean, that was very anticlimactic. I expected them to at least go for something, but it was spotted, right? Like, BDD has a teleport available, so it would be a 4 versus 5, which, even in the best scenario, probably doesn't end amazingly. In the worst scenario, it's an absolute disaster. So I'm happy that Nongshim back off here. Don't really think you're getting anything out of that once it's been found out.
Yeah, good response from Gen.G. They're just immediately back into a bit of a concave. You're never really going to have a fun time engaging on that unless you're massively ahead, so feels pretty good. Now, Peanut did pick up that Mountain Drake first, which was pretty nice for his team, trying to get those Drakes stacking, but I don't know if they get any more. I feel like this Infernal Drake is probably going to be Gen.G's And unless they can get some really nice engage, maybe with an Emperor's Divide or something, with some kind of pick-off onto BDD, maybe then, but otherwise, seems like a pretty free objective here for Gen.G.
I agree. I think at this point, especially with the prior to BDD, Bay survives here, right? But there's no way that he takes control of the mid lane. He has to back, then he has to teleport, and then he has to actually shove out the wave. So this should be a very, very free dragon coming in. The fact that Rich roams makes it a little bit more awkward. I feel like Rascal has been like freezing the lane there consistently, and Rich is just kind of forced to roam. So much CS that has to be sacked by him. And that is also why Gen.G can actually play a little bit slower, because they know they're winning on the resource war. Now Rascal has teleport available though, and a possible flank could come in here. See that deep ward in the jungle.
And Gen.G, very slow, I feel. They're going to give the Drake over, and the Dredge line misses. So, looking to try to force this fight now. We're going to have that ultimate now onto Kellen, and the engage comes in. The Hextech ultimatum miss on the Moonlight Vigil, but it doesn't matter because they're still going to kill Rich. But at the end of the day, I feel like that's not bad for Nongshim. You know, they're pretty far behind, but they still get that Infernal Drake at this point in the game and get out with only the one death. Not so bad given the situation.
Mechanically, not the greatest executed fight on either team's side. As you say, teleport was rather late there. We saw that Gen.G maybe hesitating a little bit too much with pulling the trigger there. And this buys, as you say, so much time for Nongshim. Because yeah, at this point in time, you can't really power on here, right? Because Kalin is a pretty big problem. And that's why you see Gen.G. They play really well around it, Seraphine Hill, so it looks kind of weird with just Clit getting hit here, but it's because they actually scatter really well. So in that regard, it's nice, but when it comes down to actually getting anything out of it, not so much here for Gen.G, besides a single kill, but that's not something that you're really going to be super happy with. And Nongshim, all they need is time, right? Like, think to the late game of this team. Moonstone has just been finished on Seraphine. Doctum is getting close to his first item. Bay doesn't have his third item yet. If you can get a Drake, force a teleport and get out, maybe give up a kill, completely okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a good spot for them. And I'm glad you noted kind of the play around Seraphine, because we need to see more of that against these new supports. It's almost like when the new supports especially come in and they have new forms of engage and new game-changing ultimates, it takes a little bit of time for the players to adjust and understand how to play against it and with it in some certain, you know, scenarios. So pretty nice to see, but again, maybe a little bit too much caution, I would say, from Gen.G. They're so far ahead, like, even if you do get hit by a two-man Seraphine ultimate, there's still a chance that you win that one, and you just gave up the Infernals, so they don't want to give away this objective as well, but they will. Actually, Peanut is going to be able to take it, and Clid now trying to zone them out of it. Rascal taking a lot of damage. Really nice two-man stun comes out. They want to try to deny this Rift Herald take, but in comes Bay looking for the engage. Immediately gets exhausted, though, and Peanut over the wall is not able to do too much but disengage. That's going to be another kill as well onto Rich, and so we will get the 2 kills here in favor of Gen.G, but at least Rich did pick up the Rift Herald.
While the execution has been, the macro has been kind of subpar from Gen.G in terms of, you know, being at the objectives in times, actually contesting them and picking them up, their execution on team fights and skirmishes has been exquisite, right? Like, knowing their limits, finding the exact moment at the right time. This Ruler.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Yeah, he just stands him up. He's like, okay. I mean, he just walked forward with the, with the Severin.
Yeah, remember when I said earlier that, you know, maybe Ruler and Life just need to straight up bot cap them, and it's like, I don't think that's likely. Oh boy, more action here.
This is TP, I don't know about this one. We're just like, yeah, get me out of here.
No,
I'm so sorry. He might still die, as if we had the gameplay button come out here from the Syndra, he would have died, but I think it was like 1 or 2 seconds off cooldown.
Yeah,
so
that's
not
good Guardian
damage to come in. Yeah.
Very rough. Very. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of online casting, isn't it?
Here we go again. Miss on the scat of the week, but Bay is just going to go in there and die, essentially. Doesn't have any idea about how to get out of that one. Peanut's like, I guess I'll use Lamb's Respite now, 1v4. He's going to get stunned down and taken out. A very unfortunate position for Nongshim, and Gen.G just immediately chomped down.
And it's starting to feel like Sans Dragons, a perfect game, which It's kind of weird considering the state of the game was in earlier. And I want to again draw attention to how well the limits of Gen.G are being pushed here, right? Like, look at how Clid goes. Yes, Olaf is broken. Yes, Gordranker is. But still the fact that they funnel in here, that Life get the immediate lockdown on Kellen. Kellen barely gets the time to play the game here, right? And if he can slow down the fight a little bit, that becomes so much harder. And funnels like that should not work, but Gen.G make it work. And yeah, this is Ruler just showing why he is considered such an insane AD carry, because that is really, really gruesome to see.
Yeah, it's on the scat of the week here, but like you hit your ultimate, it only really stuns Rascal. Yep. But it's 4v3 in your own jungle, and you're so far behind. Like, you're not really ever going to look to take this fight, but they got baited into it. And now Rascal, unfortunate spot for him. He's trying to go 1v5 now, chunks Kellen, but this might just be another trait going the way of Nongshim all of a sudden.
That's soul point.
Yeah, this could be pretty good. They have that extra brush as well to try to hide in here because of the Ocean Rift. But here we go. The engage comes in. BDD from behind gets a 2-man stun. And that is the 2 carries as well. They don't care if it's 4v5. Gen.G are just going to take the candy away from the baby. Easy win here in this fight. Triple kill for the Olaf. The ace as well, as Gen.G just immediately sweep them up.
Rascal ruining the close to perfect game there for Gen.G by dying. Of course, you know, also gave Drakes, but I would love to see what happened there. I think Rascal thought he had a flanking position, but he was spotted on the deep ward earlier. And here we see that skirmish in the jungle earlier, remember? Kellen used his Encore there. The lack of that big, insanely strong ultimate means that Gen.G, they don't have any qualms whatsoever of going in deep. They just saw him walk into the brush, and there is in fact, there was a brush there, right? Like, Rascal couldn't see there. That's a spectator bug. But the ultimate has already been used. Like, there are not a lot of strong ultimates available here, meaning you can just front to back with Aphelios and BDD hitting an insane scatter the week from the back. Rascal, buddy.
Die here. Okay, he's gonna flash just to get this one. Rich will not be following that. He does have his flash, but at least they get the flash out of Rascal, I suppose. Not bad. He's been getting caught out a little bit here in some of these scenarios.
I kind of get it, right? Because as Gen.G, you really don't want to engage from one angle. We've already discussed multiple times why that is really... Peanut?
What is going on here?
Buddy?
Really trying to force this one. I do not agree with that decision, let me just say, as Rascal is going to get it going as well. Peanut having a little bit of fun. And at this point, you know, it's 11,000 golden lead for Gen.G, so they're having a bit of fun as well.
Oh, Valdez.
They're going to isolate them. Yeah, this is not pretty.
Oh. You know, I gotta say, after
Ruler wasn't even there.
he's just clearing the mid wave. He's an AD carry, you know. He's got to get the creeps. And yeah, of course, you take Baron here. I really appreciate this after having like one of the longest LCK days possible. We now get Gen.G in absolute form. Although Peanut, I don't know. You don't have vision there. I'm not sure what's happening there. And then the rest of Nongshim also kind of handshake this fight. They don't need to. You don't have your Seraphine ultimate available. At this point in the game, you're already so far behind. All that really gets you through a team fight with this far of an item deficit is that wombo combo we're talking about. And this is a clear case of why we don't tunnel on draft necessarily. Yes, draft is important. Yes, it's good to have a good draft. But you can also just be straight up better. That's what Gen.G is doing right here.
Look at the gold.
Oh,
this is 21 minutes into the game. We rarely see numbers like this 40 minutes into the game, let alone 20 minutes. So that's kind of the absolute state of this game right now. The Olaf is 8-0 and 10. He has his 2-item spike plus more at this point in the game. He can 1v5, I feel like, at this point. Not even joking. Like, pretty sure he can. He doesn't need his teammates, but, you know, he'll share. He's a nice guy. Flash comes in here. Oh, BDD just making it look silly. Quadra kill. We could give this over to Ruler, actually. You see they're trying to slow him up, but the kill will just be after taken here by BDD. That's unfortunate for Ruler, but certainly 25-2 is a good lead for Gen.G. They'll be happy with that one.
The absolute state of this game, Valdez. Gen.G just goes so hard there, and I think this is, I mean, I don't think they can fight. I'm not even joking. With these weapons, Ruler is going to shred through. They can play it a little slower, right? Like, just to be sure, get another back in. I don't think they need to. I think they can just run it. And just like Dom and Kia needed like a really good game to kind of get it out of their system, I feel like this was a very necessary game for Gen.G. They've looked a little bit rough, but this is the Gen.G we've all come to know and love in the regular split, right on display here.
Yeah, even BDD is just a monster at this point. Like, the fact that he has the most range, essentially, even more than the Azir, he's just chunking people down from range, and you see they're not backing off. They know how ahead they are, and they're just going to stick around. Nice cast, though, from Ridge. Will this be the turnaround? 1,000 gold over to the 80 carry, over to Duckdom. That's pretty nice, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to matter too much as they get the hook on the Seraphine. And once again, it's 4v3, so even with that Kai'Sa, you're still going to be almost dying in your fountain. Ruler does go down, but immediately Duckdom follows. And Gen.G going to be looking to take an insanely quick game here for game number 1 up against Nongshim Redforce. We're looking at 23.5 minutes to get the job done. They're not going to take out Peanut, but they did that many times before in this game. They'll be happy. And an absolute, utter stomp for game number 1.
This is a good one for the stats, Valdez. This is what you're looking for. No emotion on any one of Gen.G. Just like, yes, this was good. This was necessary. Indeed. I can see Ruler giggle a little bit there in the background, and BDD, yes, that was just well played by everyone on Gen.G, but I want to kind of hone in on this player, right? Because BDD is has such a tough position where